Reddit communities are supposed to be places where you find people who like the same stuff as you. Whether that's video games, TV shows, or hobbies, it's all just harmless stuff. But buried beneath those normal forums is a much darker side of the website. Communities dedicated not just to their niche interests, but to something much more disturbing. Ranging from a group claiming to communicate with higher dimensional beings to forums convinced the Earth itself is a prison controlled by alien overlords, and even people obsessed with rewriting history through insane conspiracies. Today, we're diving into some unhinged Reddit communities. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And let's get into it. r/Transcension Project. In 2021, a former US intelligence officer claimed that she had made contact with aliens in a secret hidden base, and Reddit believed her. This military officer, Anjali, told her story, and as absurd as it sounds, thousands of people believed her. She began preaching about how she made extraterrestrial contact, how she met aliens, and that now big things are about to happen. She was told by these aliens that humanity was on the brink of a spiritual evolution. She claimed that there are higher levels of consciousness, and as absurd as it sounds, everyone in this community believes it's all real. Over 5,700 people to be exact. In this community only gets weirder. Backing up for some context, what are these aliens, or as she calls them, higher beings? According to Anjali, these higher beings have always been with us, like guardian angels. They guide us in the decisions we make. Do you ever get a gut feeling? A random impulse to do something? A random sudden urge? Well, according to Anjali, that's them. Everybody can speak with them, but you just don't know you're doing it. Anjali claims that when you meditate or when you pray, you are actually communicating with your divine protector. Anjali says these higher beings exist in higher densities than us humans, who are in the third density. Think of it like a dimension. The higher you go, the more complicated, smarter, and morally superior you get. She thinks that those in the fifth and sixth densities are the ones showing us our way. The seventh density is more into observing because they have some abstract purpose which we can't understand. Her core belief is that the higher beings are more compassionate and kinder than us. We should learn from them and then willingly let go of the illusion that is this world, of things like life, death, and permanence, just like the higher beings. At the top of this hierarchy is the eighth, which you attain once you become self-realized, another way to say enlightened, and then you split your consciousness and become the bottom of the rung, the first density. This is Anjali's idea of a cycle of consciousness. The subreddit community listens to what she has to say and praises her akin to a god. Almost every post on the subreddit is overwhelmingly and quite suspiciously positive. I love openly and seek after light. I choose compassion and kindness in my thoughts, words, and intentions. I mess up a lot, so I am generous with apologies and forgiveness. And good morning, wonderful humans, and beautiful Monday to you all. And people share ways to make contact and transcend beyond their current density, speaking as if all of this is normal behavior. They make their own memes, and the way they all talk feels extremely odd, talking in a cult-like manner. The community often uses phrases such as, "We are one." One user posted a 6,000-word story talking about their take on the whole thing, and a small glance through the post clearly reveals their stance as believing everything, digging themselves deeper into the rabbit hole. They began talking about psychic experiences, new world energy, with the post titled "The Starburst." It's a perfect example of what happens when someone involves themselves in absurdity. While the chances are never zero, it's very safe to assume that all of this is baseless, especially considering just how unrealistic and outright weird the community is when they talk about ascension, contact with the beings, transcendence, and other phrases which can only be categorized as buzzwords. The scariest part about this community is that they all buy into their own theories, practically feeding themselves false truths and realities. Some of them are on drugs, some have mental issues, and there is one common positivity out of it all. They all preach for meditation, calmness, peacefulness, and the likes. None of them preach hate. None of them want to sell, scam, or get anyone to buy anything. And while this may all seem good on the surface, this simply means they're doing all of this with no real purpose. Their purpose is to ascend. But when that never happens, the entire community will have found out that they've wasted months, if not years, believing in something that's completely false. And while this does sound harsh, there is a reason behind why I say this, a reason I'll reveal later on. They all worship Anjali like she's some divine new goddess, or at least a messenger of sorts. Now, while all of this might sound very similar to how religion in general works, the difference between religion and this is that religion is faith and is a part of life for those who follow. The Transcension Project is nothing less than a cult, with these people making their whole lives about it, as per Anjali's instructions, of course. Clearly, Anjali is very knowledgeable about this, so where does she place herself in the hierarchy? She never explicitly says, but as soon as you find out what she's really like, you might be able to make an educated guess. So far, nothing crazy, but don't worry, it gets even weirder as we go through how she was supposedly enlightened by these higher beings. Before that though, who is Anjali? Why would anyone listen to what she has to say? Her real name is Angelia Lynn Schultz. Anjali is a pseudonym given to her by the beings. Born in the 70s in Arkansas, she moved to Jacksonville, growing up there. And then she joined the Air Force, and then from the US Air Force to the Defense Intelligence Agency in DC. Angelina was extensively trained in informational warfare, especially human factors analysis, or in simple terms, she studied how humans acted with others in different surroundings. She was even recruited by the Marines to work in their tactical operations group, where she helped them with their highly confidential work. Unfortunately, her career was stained by a lot of illnesses. In DC, she even tried to quit, but they wouldn't let her. At the end of her career in the Marines, she resigned due to health issues and was hospitalized eventually. At the hospital, she became very ill. Her health was all over the place, and at one point, she was very close to dying. You might have heard of them, near-death experiences. The life of the person flashing by is a popular one. But Anjali's was special for a very important reason. And this is when she supposedly met the higher beings for the first time. And this is where the real story begins. There is very little verified information about what happened during Anjali's near-death experience, but that was the first time she met the beings. However, she says that experience wasn't the last time she encountered them. Years later, she claimed she met these beings again, this time in real life, physically, in a remote area of rural California. In California, a man who we only know as Wayne owned a large piece of land. On his land, there was a mountain popular for mystery sightings. Many locals had spotted something flying over it and had told Wayne about what they saw. Anjali's story says that as he went to investigate, he learned that there was supposed to be something hidden deep inside the mountain, so he began to excavate a tunnel. And this is the point where Wayne's and Anjali's worlds collide for the first time. Wayne was with his wife at a coffee shop on a casual coffee date when they met Anjali. Their personalities matched, and he and his wife both liked her so much that they invited her, along with another couple, to their house. After a while, they went to explore the property and ended up deciding to enter the tunnel Wayne had previously excavated. As they walked in, they noticed that it was pretty empty, but upon rounding a corner, we are met with an incredible sight. In front of them were a group of creatures that surely could not be real. Inhuman proportions, unnatural colors, and disturbing features aside, They somehow managed to communicate in a language that humans could understand and pulled them deeper inside. The exact definition Anjali herself gave of these creatures was that there were two different races of beings. One gray, not organic nor a drone in the ways we understand, but a body that holds an interactive consciousness, and several tall whites, 6.5 to 7 feet tall, with fine, warmish white hair and stunning, radiant, alabaster skin. The imagination of the human mind is amazing, but it also uses past experiences to create these imaginative thoughts. That being said, these beings Anjali mentions sound suspiciously similar to Greek statues. Tall, white, fine details, shiny white skin. It'll become a lot clearer why this fact is important very soon. Suddenly, they entered a large room, and inside was another creature, and yet another unidentifiable alien race, waiting to greet them. They made her lie down on a table on the floor, and she felt them pull her consciousness directly out of her body as she lay down, unable to move. There was a mist made of light which felt like pure, astonishing love. They kept saying to her, "Wake up, wake up. The veil is very heavy. Remember who you are and why you're here and what you agreed to do. Prepare to transcend." Man, this is nuts. After this ritual, Anjali says that they escorted her out of the base, and then she was teleported to an archway in the middle of Wayne's house. And this was her enlightenment. Very believable, right? Apparently, she already considered the skeptics and the cynics and said that she would return to the base with a full team of scientists, which already included an astronaut, a documentarian, and a well-known chief investigative reporter. All of this information came from Anjali herself in an hour-long press conference held at the Lincoln Memorial Site. And I'm sorry if the story was a little bit all over the place, because she is a little bit all over the place when she speaks, so I tried my best. Hopefully her enlightenment story made a little bit of sense. But the comments on this press conference video are mixed, to say the least. Someone says, "I'm very concerned about both the literacy and mental stability of many commenters on this video." Someone else says, "Can you even imagine getting involved with a woman this smart, deceptive, and that batshit crazy, and not find out until it's too late? Terrifying." Someone else says, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Where is it?" Someone else says, "Cultural anthropology background here. What we're listening and watching here is the formation of cult." While these comments are extremely critical of the entire story, there is no short supply of believers. Someone says, "It's difficult to believe in things that you have not seen. Many years ago, my ex-partner and I saw what made us believe we are not alone. I've been preparing myself for the moment they show their presence publicly and start doing what we are able to do to keep our existence. She was chosen to spread the message, and she delivered it says ago. You did well, Anjali." Someone else says, "Thank you for your bravery and sharing info to help humanity. Honestly, it's already a big risk to your person and credentials to come forward with topics that could be ridiculed by many. So thank you for coming forward. I support your adventure totally. Go do this. Beautiful. It's way past due time that we meet our star sisters and brothers." Someone else says, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love and light and life equals the highway. We are all one." Someone else says, "I only noticed this today. She is quoting angelic signals. I know from firsthand experience that is what she is doing. It's amazing to see. She is not even in body as she talks." So far, we've heard what Anjali had to say, but the subreddit also documents other people's experiences with these higher beings. For example, there are many stories about people's experiences with the CE5, Close Encounters a Fifth Kind. Basically, this refers to a human-initiated, peaceful, and intentional contact with alien civilizations, a term popularized by Dr. Stephen Greer, an American UFOologist. So let's get into one of these wild stories on the subreddit. It reads as follows. "Another one of my favorite experiences is when I was meditating. and I visualized all I know about our Earth, our solar system, my location, who I am, my family, my home, etc. And once again sent it out into the universe for any benevolent beings to pick up on it. To my surprise, I received exactly the same thing in return. Immediately after my meditation, I was brought to this other planet. I saw the galaxy, which looked like a bright, sand-colored cloud with 2 tiny shark fin arms at the edges. I then saw this star system with 4 inner planets, a large gas giant with a ring, and 2 small outer planets. I was then brought to the 4th planet on the system, which looked like a brown and orange-colored Earth. It had 1 large ocean and a large landmass. The atmosphere had a purple tint to it, and it looked thin. I was then brought down to the surface, which looked like flowing fields of tall green and orange grass, large mountain ranges, and I even saw what looked like a small planet or moon in the sky, much bigger than our own moon. I could see their star in the sky, and it had a large cloud of sandy white dust surrounding it, and it was maybe 2/3 of the brightness of our own sun. And that's when I was introduced to the family of beings. I saw 4 of them, what looked like 2 adults and 2 children. They had a pale, silvery purple skin, no hair, and they wore these fine tank top / dress type robes, and they looked like the finest silk ever. It was almost translucent. The robes were shades of sky blue and violet. Their heads were very angular and what looked like muscular, but wasn't at the same time. Very square jaws, and they had large cranial bulges at the back of their heads. Their eyes were like ours, but brown, and their facial features were scrunched up and very close together. Bipedal, normal-sized arms and legs except skinny. Their homes were very open concept, and it looked to be made out of this very fine, bright tan / white colored cement-like material, almost like what some Greek and Italian structures look like in those vacation pictures you see advertised by rich people, LOL. The homes these beings lived in looked like a honeycomb structure made up of all these little open concept domes. No doors, no windows, just walls. I saw what looked like hundreds of these homes, dotting the landscape and up on the sides of the mountain range. It was very, very beautiful to look at. Next thing I knew, I was having these flashes of images, emotions, and scenery to what I realized were memories. They were sharing their memories with me, and I saw the family preparing food that looked like some kind of fruit or vegetables, playing in the fields of grass, huddled together laughing and smiling, and it was just all around happiness. It was the most loving thing I've ever witnessed. When it was over, I saw them standing in front of their home like a family portrait. Adults standing in the back, with the 2 children in front with their hands on their children's shoulders. They were smiling at me, and it felt like they were happy to have had me with them, and they were saying goodbye, to which I was then brought back to my meditation and my living room. Afterwards, I felt drained, but overwhelmed with a sense of longing, love, happiness, and wanting to go back. And I just included that story because it just shows what sort of mentality the people in this community are in. They are having these wild experiences and seeing these higher beings and all of that, and it's just wild. And I mean, it doesn't directly correlate with the next part, but I just wanted you guys to get a sense of what these people were like in the community and what the people were like that follow Anjali. But the real question we need to have answered is what happened to the expedition into the tunnel that was supposed to provide definitive proof that Anjali did indeed find higher beings? Well, that's a whole new can of worms. Initially, around the end of June 2021, after announcing the plan, she started trying to reach out to the original couple, Wayne and his wife. For several months, the efforts went on, and all the while, Anjali kept tweeting about the supposed progress of the talks and all the new members joining their team. Until Anjali held her big press conference during the pandemic, the owners of the mountain knew nothing about what Anjali was doing. When they did find out, Wayne and Trisha were not happy bringing this woman onto their property, along with a whole camera crew. Despite their lack of consent, Anjali kept planning the expedition and was trying to find more people to nominate to visit the mountains. On October 22nd, she drove 1,600 miles to the couple in California, only to be denied entry. Wayne told her, quote, "I will be frank and to the point. We do not want you or anyone affiliated with your project on our property. No one, not you, not Adam/Max, members of the expedition crew, not people with alien gear looking for caves and holes. We are trying to live our lives peacefully, and this has done nothing but cause us emotional distress and severe anxiety. You are making it so much harder to get through this time. If you are truly the kind, loving person you say you are, then you will respect this." It is important to note that Wayne was also undergoing medical treatments at this time for cancer. So when Anjali announces in a podcast that she plans to find a way to explore the mountains somehow, anyway, the owners sent her a furious message, understandably so. Anjali responded, quote, "You owe me a damn explanation as to what happened on your property. If I am lying, so you must have had the wrong idea about who you brought to your home. If you think I am just going to go away after what happened to me, you knew I was intel. I would never just go away. This is bigger than both of us, and that's just the truth of it." A few days later, she said, "Do you have the medical support you need? Are you able to afford the treatment? Is he getting his best chance right now with his plan of care? These are questions I turn over often when thinking of you. Not very compassionate, kind, or understanding, is it?" Quite obviously, Anjali's planned expedition kept getting delayed and delayed, seeing that Wayne didn't want anything to do with her. Almost a year later, after a journalist, Charlie Weiser, refused to report on her story, she threatened to sue the journalist, claiming that she said things such as the couple took advantage of her and that someone paid the couple to cancel the expedition. If Wayne and Trisha were named in this bogus lawsuit, they could lose access to their home and their privacy, so they would have to take actions against Anjali. Anjali's plan was to get onto the property, no matter what, and to have her story shared to the world. Extremely worried and concerned, Wayne and Trisha instead contacted the accused journalist and finally revealed the truth. In 2018, while chatting as a group in a coffee shop, Wayne mentioned that people have been seeing UFOs over his mountain for years and invited Anjali, along with another couple, to their house because they seemed nice. At their home, they all proceeded to do cannabis oil, meaning that they were stoned. They walked around outside for a bit but never went to their mountain. For the next couple of weeks, Anjali kept texting Trisha asking to meet up. Understandably, they were kind of freaked out and kept ignoring her. They finally contacted her 3 years later, a week before her press conference, which is when she finally told them that she had an alien experience in Wayne's tunnels. Wayne said he had no tunnels. Apparently, Anjali even said, quote, "You have no idea who I am. You have no idea what I'm capable of." Trisha finally told Anjali that she wished that she had never met them and that they were never friends. To which Anjali responded, quote, "I'm your friend whether you think so or not. Love, your friend." Clearly, the couple just wanted to be left alone in peace, but Anjali just wouldn't let them be. So, the real events that took place that fateful day is that Anjali went to the property, they got stoned, they walked around for a couple of hours before an ambulance showed up unexpectedly. As it turns out, Anjali's daughter was worried for her, so she called 911 and paramedics arrived. The aliens she saw were most likely paramedics. Her stories of lying down as they, quote, pull out her consciousness was the paramedics probably putting her on a stretcher. And finally, the aliens most likely weren't saying, wake up, the veil is very heavy, remember who you are and why you're here and what you agreed to, prepare to transcend. While it sounded like that to Anjali, they probably said, wake up, do you remember who you are and why you're here? I mean, that's just mind-blowing. Her meeting with quote-unquote higher beings was just the paramedics while she was stoned out of her mind. And this just proves if someone is confident enough, they can get an entire community to join them in a completely made-up cause. Many people believe that everything Anjali preached about came from a mix of drugs and mental illness, finding several obvious holes in her story. Anjali has since been banned on Reddit, and so being the only frequent poster, as well as the only moderator of the subreddit, the Transcension Project died out on Reddit, with the last post being over a year old. To this day, however, Anjali is still active on X, now posting AI videos and preaching her theories. Despite all of this, there's still a concerning number of people, a part of this community, who believe in Anjali and her stories. Over 12,000 people follow her on Twitter, but she barely manages to get over 30 likes per post. It's safe to say that this community is almost dead, but if you're interested in joining, she has her own websites where she makes blog posts. I think this is just a completely ridiculous Reddit community that I stumbled upon, and I just thought this was mind-blowing, that this entire belief system was propped up on one drug-fueled day, where she then thought that she had met aliens. Just wild. r/escaping prison planet. One of the main points against religion, and in turn a god existing, is the fact that there is so much suffering in this world. Would a benevolent god really let all that happen? Well, what if suffering was the point? This community thinks that the Earth is some kind of soul farm run by malicious aliens and ultimately wants to escape from the wheel of reincarnation. To explain what a soul farm is, we need a bit of history. The Gnostics were people who believed that there were actually two divine beings. One was the supreme being who was hidden and uncorrupted, and the other was the flawed being that created the physical world. To escape the evil material existence, you had to stop worshiping the false god of religion, the Demiurge, and achieve Gnosis. Achieving Gnosis meant that you were one of the very few to know how to defeat these mysterious beings. You could escape this prison whenever you wanted, and that made you powerful. These were the earliest skeptics of religion, and a starting point for many crazy beliefs we see today. According to the subreddit, these overlords use us not only as a food source, but also prevent our souls from leaving the physical world when we die. The white tunnel of light most people see when they're close to death apparently isn't what it seems to be, and according to this subreddit, this is actually a trap set by Demiurge. This tunnel is designed to wipe the memories of your current life and prepare for your next life in the infinite loop of the reincarnation cycle. In short, the planet is a giant garden for these parasites, and all the living beings are food for otherworldly beings. Many religions in the world do have the concept of reincarnation and the process of enlightenment in order to break the cycle, such as Buddhism and Gnosticism, which are very real ancient religions researched by many scholars. And according to the subreddit, higher beings called the reptilians are responsible for setting up the soul trap around the Earth and manipulating humans for thousands of years. Wow. The idea mainly comes from the prevalence of snakes or reptiles in many religions around the world. Hindus talk about the Naga, a half-human, half-serpent deity. Aztecs worshipped Quetzalcoatl, a serpent-like god, and the Hopi Native Americans believed in a race of reptile creatures called the Shiti, or Snake Brothers. Starting to see a pattern? These highly advanced reptilians supposedly set up the soul trap around the planet using highly advanced technology, including the light tunnel trap that wipes memories, and this is just wild. The point is that these entities supposedly feed off our negative emotions such as fear, pain, grief, or anger, etc., because they are low vibrational beings that need low vibrations to survive. People keep reincarnating and keep suffering, essentially acting as an infinite energy source for them. There are legitimate scholars, highly educated people who believe in this. For example, former US Navy veteran William Tompkins, born in 1923 in LA, William claims to have sketched prototypes using extraterrestrial material and developed anti-gravity spacecraft in top secret space programs. He stayed quiet about this for half a century, but in the last couple of years of his life, he probably didn't care what would happen to him. In an interview he gave, he said that the Draco reptilians own the Earth and that we are all slaves to them. Incredibly, the moon is apparently a giant control center for these aliens, and it was camouflaged as a natural satellite of the Earth. All of the astronauts that went to the moon were apparently Freemasons, and even they were shocked to see that the moon had already been occupied by these reptilians. This is as far gone as you can get with conspiracy theories. This is insane. Freemasonry is a sort of organization exclusively for men focused around religion. It mainly does charity work and conducts social gatherings these days, but has been associated with conspiracy theories ever since they entered pop culture. And Tompkins passed away in August of 2017, 1 month after presenting to a large audience about his experiences at the MUFON UFO conference. Another highly educated person who also believes in this theory is Dr. Carla Turner, who wrote a few books detailing this topic. One of the most disturbing stories she reports on is the case of Ted Rice. When he was just 8 years old, Rice was apparently abducted by aliens along with his grandmother, where they S8'd her and tried to SA Rice too, but she wouldn't let them. They threatened her, saying that she would die in 2 days if she didn't give up. 2 days later, the grandma passed away due to a massive heart attack. And this is just one of the many horrifying stories she reports on in her book. Her core idea is that these aliens were very much evil monsters in the core. She recounts interviews in one of her books titled Taken with cases so severe that it can't even be repeated here. Quote, "In spite of what some prominent abduction theorists tell us about avoiding thinking in terms of good and evil or positive and negative when it comes to the aliens, this cannot be done, nor should it be. For these women, for my husband and myself, for all abductees, knowing that we have been made a part of this agenda and that we have been implanted, trained, and programmed to participate in some future scenario, how can we not ask to what purpose our minds, bodies, and souls will be used for?" She suspected that aliens needed to eat our bodies because they are saturated with our emotions and our soul, which is their energy. As a human rights activist, she always called for others to stand up against these aliens, to seize back their souls from these malicious beings, and to break free from the prison. Carla tragically died from a particularly oppressive case of breast cancer, and her followers and believers still believe that it was murder. And now back to the subreddit. The subreddit is still very active, with users posting every day and discussion still active. There are discussions of theories with users criticizing, refining, and comparing similarities with other conspiracies in the comment section, all while warning others to stay vigilant. This community has over 80,000 members on Reddit, and they never stop feeding each other their own beliefs. They have their own memes, and much of the community is centered mainly around exposing the elites. And the way some of them talk sounds quite disturbing. The people in this community seem a bit deranged, to say the least. Weirdly enough, many of these people seem obsessed with Elon Musk for some odd reason, that he's connected to this more than anyone else is. And again, while people can have their own beliefs by promoting these theories, the community is risking those who are already depressed to think that nothing is worth living for anymore. And while the community rallies on this nihilistic truth, acting like life is pointless, the reality is most of these users may post about their grand schemes to save the world from this cruel fate, and then immediately go back to scrolling through TikTok, doing drugs, and living a life of nothingness and waste. If they have nothing to do, nothing to show for, the people in these communities create their own twisted purpose to live by, to feel as though they've accomplished something. This is becoming a pattern. While the main posts by the moderators come off as well-researched and grounded as a theory about aliens can be, some of the posts show what can happen if you actually believe this theory. So let's get into a post by a user who firmly believes in this. In 2020, I started using DMT out of desperation. I have a rare, brittle bone disease, and at the time, I was bedridden, in excruciating pain every single day. Nothing helped. Then DMT entered the scene and brought me back to life. For 3 months, I did breakthrough doses about once a week. And in every single one, I met these same two entities. Others would come and go, some in the waiting room, some along the journey. They were always there at the end, always waiting for me, always delivering messages with absolute clarity. And those messages changed everything. The first thing they did was give me my memories back, not from this life, but from beyond it. Suddenly, I remembered what this place is and that I'm an immortal being. This place is a prison planet, a hell simulation, something designed to trap consciousness and extract energy. They show me that this reality runs on extreme emotions. Fear and love are the primary fuel sources. Outside this place, emotions don't work the same way. Then came the warnings. During an early breakthrough, I was shown a powerful entity that was controlling more than one body in this simulation, not just influencing people, but literally inhabiting multiple forms. I was told to pay close attention to this entity, Elon Musk. I wrote everything down in my journals, documenting what I saw, but I never shared it. How could I? If I told people, I'd just be labeled crazy. At the time, it made no sense. This was 2020 when everyone loved him. I didn't follow what he was doing. I wasn't into tech news. I wasn't obsessing over billionaires, but trip after trip, the message was the same. He is not what he seems. He will create chaos. He will be responsible for many deaths. I keep coming back to the same question. Why was I told this? Why did these entities make sure I knew? I wasn't following this guy. I had no prior opinion about him. And yet these beings went out of their way to warn me again and again, before it was obvious to the general public. That means something. It means I wasn't supposed to forget. It means that knowledge isn't random. Maybe other people have gotten this message. Maybe it's something bigger, but one thing is certain. This place runs on deception, distraction, and control. And the truth is waiting outside of it. This subreddit is nowadays firmly in the crazy conspiracy theory territory, but somehow manages to have a large and active following. It is seriously disturbing how persistent members of the subreddit are. After all, my skepticism might just be the reptilians interfering. r/Saturn Storm Cube. The members of r/Saturn Storm Cube are conspiracy theorists, but they're a lot different than your average run-of-the-mill theorists. The members of this community believe that the elites all worship Saturn, and all their conspiracies somehow link to Saturn in one way or the other. r/Saturn Storm Cube believes that basically all of human religion originated from one event, the Saturn polar configuration. Thousands of years ago, there was an incredible cosmic event where Saturn, Venus, and Mars all left their regular orbits and descended over Earth, all aligned in a single line. This meant that Earth was once a satellite of Saturn for a very brief period. During this time, Mars acted as a staircase to Saturn and Venus. Well, what's the evidence? A researcher, David Talbot, analyzed myths from many different cultures, ancient and modern, and apparently found that most of them referenced this specific incident with the planet Saturn. And like our last subreddit, these guys also believe that the Earth is a prison created by a lesser deity, the Demiurge, who trapped humanity in this world. The subreddit is filled with conspiracy theories like these, and the number of these theories have grown exponentially, getting more and more confusing and crazier with each new one. Most, if not all members, are hardcore conspiracy theorists, and each have their own theories on what the real truth is, and their motives are even weirder. Quote, "We are committed to exposing the global occult agenda. All related aspects are covered, such as God, the concealed primeval cube, alien entities, the day of the storm, the time matrix, agendas of ancient and modern secret fraternal orders, and secret messages contained within ancient art and modern media. The Saturn storm cube theory is the theory that a secret cult in devotion to Saturnian power controls the world, governments, religions, banks, societies, etc., making conspiracies out of literally everything." I mean, they covered all bases there. And no matter how absurd it is, they believe that everyone running big corporations, banks, governments, and just everything worships Saturn. And everything bad happening in the world is to be blamed on them, while anything good happening is just a distraction these elites created as a distraction. While scrolling through the subreddit, I came across this post. President Joe Biden's cabinet photo shoot entails 666 and the cube, and has a picture of drawings over President Joe Biden's cabinet photo shoot with, I guess it equals 666. And this post sums up pretty much half of the community. It claims that the photo is some reference to 666 when there's no group of 6 people for the second and third group from the left, and the pattern in the middle is just nothing at all, like the symbol they added in the center. There are hundreds of posts like these made daily, people finding a conspiracy in absolutely everything they can, on a mission to expose the elites, when the reality is much different and a lot more pathetic. They sit around and share these images and theories just to do nothing about it other than argue online with other people. None of their theories have any solid proof, and anyone can spot any pattern in anything if they look hard enough. And I mean, I scrolled literally hours through this while researching for this video, and I am just blown away that there are people out there that believe in these sort of things. Like, if you want to burn a few hours and laugh a little bit, scroll through this subreddit. This is one of the most ridiculous schizo subreddits I have ever gotten into. It is just beyond ridiculous. And yeah, this is a unhinged Reddit community.